there you go.
Howdy y'all, I'm Donnie. Good to see some of y'all that I know, or there's most of y'all I don't know at all. I hadn't been to a meeting in a while, but I'm glad you're here. Richard was saying that he had lots of nectar in his hives, but that they weren't being capped. Is anybody experiencing that? You are?
Mine's
Do y'all?
uncapped.
Yours are
Uncapped.
uncapped?
Yeah.
What is the forage that y'all are seeing?
The foraging?
We don't know.
What?
The flowers?
Oh,
Yeah.
just the tree right now, the mesquite and the random
Okay.
weird flowers.
So you live over there by Cottondale,
Mhm.
did you get a lot of rain?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So the,
Still very humid too.
right, so the picture that you saw that James put up from the mesquites, the brownish looking, coontails is what I call them, they've been washed out with rain. So there's basically no nectar in them. But if you got other, if you have other blooms that are white looking,
Mhm.
then those are good blooms and they're probably getting nectar from that. Richard, do you have mesquite? Do you know what the nectar source is?
No.
No? And you don't
We've
know
got
what?
mesquite
No,
in
we
the
don't
area,
know.
but,
Don't know.
I
This
wish
is
I
my
did.
mesquite
Uh-huh.
and it's white.
Yeah, it's not really white, it's kinda yellow.
Oh, well.
Yeah, when it's yellow, that's mean it's been harmed by the rain.
Oh, okay,
so
I didn't know that.
That's what do we want? You want me over here? Okay.
The
What
director
about
is
that
talking.
then? I'm curious, cause this is on the same tree, just zoomed in.
Right.
You think that's not got anything?
No, well, the ends are kind of burnished, so not much, but that bee is there. So
Yeah.
the bee is saying that she's getting something off of it.
Okay,
But that's not a full bloom.
no,
No,
no.
no, it would be really white, bushy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go look.
Yeah, that's not very bushy at all.
No, it looked like it just started to me
Right.
that day.
And
So-
that little yellow flower that I hate, the bitterweed,
Broomweed?
broomweed,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's all over.
Is it?
It
Is it blooming?
Are your
Yes.
bees on it?
I have to say that they are, but
Do you see them on it?
I see them on it, and I'm like, that's like, last year was the first time I have ever seen them on that awful plant. Because it's so invasive, and it's really tall, and it competes with everybody, and it's really hard to kill. And so, but I saw one last year, and I saw 3 this year.
But it's native.
It is native, but it takes over.
It's hard to kill. So, have y'all seen the beautiful hay fields that are just solid
Yes.
green?
Oh,
Aren't they?
yeah.
They're beautiful. They're great for horses and cows, but they don't do nothing for bees. So all this rain is great for that type of crop, for that hay crop, but it don't do much for us, so. We have to think about that in relation to, are our bees hungry or not? You guys with nectar in your hives, is it a lot of nectar?
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah, just now,
yeah.
Just now?
just now.
Okay, and you're,
A lot of nectar.
a lot of nectar just now?
This is
Actually,
last
not
week
for
me.
a month.
For a month, okay?
No.
Richard, do you know?
we've been seeing the nectar in the boxes
Right.
for a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah.
Uh,
So do you reckon?
We've got, plenty of Vitek planted around,
Mhm.
lots of crepe myrtle and Texas sage.
Uh-huh.
And when Texas sage blows,
Yeah.
they're there.
You know they're on it.
Wham!
Right,
I mean-
yeah, you can hear them. Yeah.
It's like the hives get empty and dumped on this huge Texas sage that we've got.
Right, so I have hives that we checked in, Breckenridge yesterday, and I've been watching this hive for several months now. And, what I've seen is in the spring, they had a full super of honey, and I wanted to take it, and I didn't take it. And it's a good thing I didn't take it, because then they came back and ate half of it, and then they filled it back up, and then now it's full and not capped. If I had taken it, they would have starved to death in that time that they needed to eat. So, most beekeepers in our area, would not not take honey until like Labor Day, you know, but I am of a way that if it's there and there's gonna be other sources for them to bring in, then I'll take. But this time I'm glad I didn't take. But I wonder what might be happening where you guys have open nectar, is that they've collected it and they couldn't dry it down because of all the rain, and they ate it, and because there was nothing else to eat, and then now they're putting it back. So maybe that's happening.
That's what I feel like has happened.
Yeah.
That's the story I tell myself.
Right. And if you'd have taken it before, they'd have been starving
They
if you
would've.
hadn't fed them, so.
They cleaned out the whole honey super I have.
That's right.
There's nothing in there,
Yeah, empty, huh?
empty.
Wow.
But they filled the bottom, the other part back up, the
Yeah.
second box, and then, so I put that back on there.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was taking away space.
Yes, me
Uh,
too.
And it's very frustrating to take away space. I mean, you're trying to make honey,
Yeah,
and you're taking away space, so it's kind of a knockback thing.
yeah.
So, feed or not to feed is our presentation today. This, so we wanna evaluate the hive, what's going on in the hive, is the hive worth saving, is there something wrong in the hive? We can go to the next one, honey. Where are we evaluating, the next slide, okay. So, the native sunflower here, can y'all see, y'all can't see that, can you?
Yep.
No, it's absorbing.
Yeah, it's absorbing. So, the native sunflower here, it typically blooms in July, so that's good. We're typically looking for it. I have bees, when I put bees somewhere, I really wanna put them near native sunflower, cause I know that that's gonna be there. So whether the mesquite gets washed out or whatever it is that's getting rained on, the horse mint right now,
Yeah.
and, then I know that there's gonna be a nectar source and a pollen source for the bees. So this one is a good one. The horse mint, this is at my property, and this took this picture today. And this horse mint, I've been watching for 2 or 3 weeks now. And when bees work horse mint, they come back in the hive with white powder on their heads. And so you know for sure that they've been working that horse mint. None of my bees on the horse mint or near the horse mint have been coming in with white spots on their head. After the 1.5 inch rain we got yesterday, now I'm starting to see these crowns start to turn brown. So they're getting totally washed out. The soil is probably saturated, so the roots are pulling up more moisture, and it's just knocking out any possibility of nectar. And these may not even get pollinated to make seed. They shouldn't be up right now. They should be up in August. So the horse mint came up way too early, and we may not get any use out of it. The partridge pea is something across from my property, is what's blooming over there right now. It shouldn't be there. It comes up in the spring when we get more water. So, but the bees do get on that. And that's another, when you mentioned crepe myrtles a while ago, Richard,
Yeah.
is it, what color?
I've got, white, pink,
Right. So-
lavender.
The white crepe myrtle is the only purebred crepe myrtle. So hybrids do not give nectar. And so that is information from a master gardener. I'm a master beekeeper, I'm not a master gardener. But I know that fact that hybrids won't give nectar. So your pinks, reds, whatever color you got, won't give nectar, but the white one does. And I think that's called
Natchez.
Natchez variety, yeah. Thank you, Richard. So that's a good one to plant. The vitex, this little vitex at my house is blooming right now. And, but I don't see the bees on it. I guess too much water knocking it out, so they can't get anything. This is a vitex, this is my big vitex, there's 2 of them actually. It bloomed in, late May, and it's purple. And it was covered in bees, covered in blooms, and now it got pollinated, and it is, dropping seed. So, when your vitex gets pollinated, what I do is I go back and I cut all those seed pods off, so then it will bloom again. So, right now, I was thinking today that, I'd probably like to run over to Justin Seed and get, buckwheat. It's a cheaper seed, and it's a 60-day plant, so we got plenty of time right now with all this wetness to go out there and plant that buckwheat. I just broadcast it, I don't try to till it in or do anything like that. But, just broadcast it and let it come up, and like I said, it's a 60-day plant, and it should do well. Now, it can't do any kind of cold at all, but we still got 2 months of heat left, so.
At
We'll be
least.
sweating in the deer stand.
Yeah,
Yes, we sweat at trick or treating.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We sweat all the time.
Yeah.
We're gonna sweat. So this is uncapped honey or nectar. Whenever your bees get 30 pounds of honey or nectar or sugar syrup or whatever you're giving them, they have a morale boost. They feel more secure. Anything less than that, then, I mean, we're talking about a 20, 30,000, 40,000 inhabitant hive needs that 30 pounds to feel secure. Now, if it's a nuke, you know, they can deal with a lot less. And then this over here, you can see that the cappings here, that's capped honey. So when we're talking about harvesting that honey, we typically want to wait till it's capped. I do cheat and take a refractometer in the field and check the moisture on it, because if you can get away with this, then you don't have to uncap it.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that wax. You just spin the frames and give it back to the bees. So it's, you know, one step taken out. But we do use our wax for salves and balms and lip balms and candles now and all kinds of things. So it's good to have. So if you when your honey's uncapped, it could be up to 23% moisture. 23% moisture is gonna ferment. It's a matter of time. You just don't know how long, under what conditions that it's in. I've heard people say that they had seen actual bubbling in their cells, in their frames. And so that's been actual fermentation taking place in the hive, which is a whole lot better than you putting it in a jar and then it fermenting and then you having an issue that way. But this is, so what do you guys see here in this frame?
Honey.
Yes.
Lots of uncapped.
Yeah, so the white cappings, that tells us that they were on a nectar flow. So when they get on a nectar flow, they're really bringing it in fast. They reproduce that wax from their bodies, and typically, and this one is just about all uncapped. So this would definitely be one that I'm checking to see what the moisture is. But in our situation that we have, where the rain has knocked out everything, and I really don't want to feed the bees. I don't want to feed them sugar syrup. So I'm always holding off as long as I can on that, because I don't want to mix the sugar syrup with the honey. My customers don't want that to begin with. Sugar syrup doesn't have any enzymes like the honey will have from the flowers. But this box here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it had 10 frames in it to begin with. We put 9 frames in it and spaced them out so that they'll draw big and fat. So those frames will weigh so much more, and it's so much easier to uncap it when they're fat like that. But that's gonna weigh probably in the neighborhood 35, 40 pounds. So that's a good amount of honey for the bees to have on them during this time when we don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, every time I just get it's so despairing to go check on the bees and thank God for the rain. And I told a guy today, he said, we were talking about the mesquite blooms out in Breckenridge, and he lives in Breckenridge, and he said, well, we had hardly any rain this morning. And I said, well, I don't wanna say that's a good thing. I don't wanna say good to that. And he goes, yeah, I know, I just need to be able to make it down to my garden, you know? And, we're gonna need the rain at some point, so we hate to say anything bad about it. But 40 pounds is a good amount to have on your bees in this time. So we're kind of left with leaving it there for them, rather than taking it. And now there's lots of people who would just as soon take the honey and feed them back sugar syrup. But like I said, the sugar syrup doesn't have enzymes for the health of the bees. I kind of think it's important for them. So I would call that an adequate amount of stores for this time. Now, we're not saying that that's an adequate amount for the winter. That's a whole different situation. But for today, that's a good amount. So on evaluating this frame here, what can y'all tell me what you see on this frame over here?
Mixed cat brood?
Mixed cat brood?
Cat brood?
Yeah, so we got drone brood and
Brood.
worker brood.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
not a super smooth pattern.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Kinda-
bumpy like,
Yeah.
yeah,
They're on marijuana,
with
smoking
rocky
marijuana.
top, yeah.
Well, it's kind of all over,
Yeah.
so.
So, this is worker sales.
Oh, okay.
And then, you want me to? This is my technical advisor.
Yes, we do.
All right.
You want me to do what?
What do y'all see in the right picture as well? Do y'all see anything?
Yeah.
I see eggs.
Looks like eggs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see
Oh,
eggs.
yeah.
Yeah, so over in this area,
Yes,
there's
yes.
eggs.
A lot of eggs, yes.
And I,
So what she's alluding to is that rather it being a laying worker, it's a queen laying those eggs. So this queen, she's either just ran out of semen, and she is laying eggs wherever, but she could even have a broken leg. So what they do is they measure the cells, and of course there's complete darkness in the hives. They measure the cells with their legs. And if it's a measurement of a worker cell, they deposit an egg and fertilize it. If it's a drone cell, they deposit an egg and don't fertilize it. But this girl is laying in the center of every cell there, but she's getting the fertilization wrong, or she's plumb run out of semen. So we call that a drone laying queen. If it were a laying worker, they would be laying eggs all along the side. So, for me, and do y'all see any stores at all? Any honey, any nectar, any pollen?
No,
No.
that's
Yeah,
it.
I don't see anything in there.
I see pollen.
Yeah, and matter of fact, this larvae here, it's slumped down in the cell, so it's got some problems, so I
The
wouldn't
top
even,
one looks like it has some problems. What's at the top up there?
yeah, it's,
What is
I
that?
think that's a piece of pollen, actually. So
Yeah.
there's 2 cells
Two.
of pollen, and then there's a little bit of pollen in that cell up there. And then the others, have eggs. But, so I don't even think this would be a hive worth saving. If it had any stores in it, then I would definitely give it to another hive and roll on. It's just not worth it. If you could find her and diagnose what her issue is with her legs, if you notice she was missing a leg, you might as well just pinch her and go on about that. Shake the bees, since it's a laying queen, it's not an issue of these bees necessarily killing the queen that you might give them to, so just shake them out in front of the hive. If it was a laying worker with eggs all in the cells, all over the sides of the cells, you wouldn't necessarily wanna do that. You just wanna take them and make sure that, I would shake them out in front of a very large hive, that they'd have to go in through that large hive and not be able to harm that queen inside. Because what they do, when they become laying workers, they think they're queens. So, they're gonna go in and try to hurt the queen that's in there. So you have to have, workers that will defend her. So you wouldn't wanna throw those bees into a nucleus hive, because then they would be, an uproar. So, we covered all that, eggs in the middle. So, you have to figure out what your goal is for your feeding. Are you trying to protect the honey crop? Or are you trying to help the bees survive? So, most of the time, this time of year, I'm trying to protect my honey crop. So, I use bananas. We went to Lowe's the other day and bought like 30 pounds of bananas at 99 cents a bag. There's probably 4 or 5 pounds of bananas to a bag, and you know, they were all the kind that's past banana pudding making stage, but they're good for banana bread. We peel them and put them on the hive. I used to go through the process of cutting every one of them in half like a banana split. It ain't worth all that. They'll take care of it. Your box will smash the banana down, and the bees will eat it like you wouldn't believe. And so now there's people coming out with different studies and health benefits of feeding bananas to the bees. Yes, sir.
I always thought, understand, you put them on the frames, or you put them on top of the?
Yeah, on top of the
On
frames.
top of the frame?
Yeah.
So when you put the air cover down or whatever, it squashes?
Right, so if, let's say, you had a deep and a
Right.
medium super,
Yes.
and you would put them between the medium super and the deep. So
Okay.
right on top of the top box.
So you don't put it on top of the brood,
I put it on top of the brood.
you put it on top of the brood,
Mhm.
and can you put it on the next box, like on both of them, or just on the top of the brood?
If you're heavily populated, yeah, but otherwise I'd just go on top of the brood nest.
'Cause I
Right,
said
right,
something
just
that-
plain banana, not the peel, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, cause the peel, if you leave the peel in there, then the gnats will hatch, and then you
Okay,
got
gotcha.
gnats in your hive.
Okay, thank you.
And then the banana peel is gonna rot, and you got moisture in there you don't want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cause I set out a whole bunch of bananas in a pan
Uh-huh.
for it to feed the pharaohs to, and nobody ate it,
Nobody ate it,
nobody ate it,
but not peeled.
it was peeled.
Oh, really?
We had, the end of school party, and there was a whole bunch of bananas left over, and they were already cut in half, so I just went out and peeled them, put them in a tinfoil plate, set it out there by the bee water, got nothing.
Huh.
They just
So you
rotted.
do peel the banana?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I knew that part.
Yeah, I did not peel one time, and it was nasty. I wish I had.
You
that.
learned.
Yeah.
So it's kind of more the older rotten bananas
Right.
versus the.
They have more sugar in them.
I
The
wouldn't-
older they get, the more sugar
Oh,
they have.
okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wouldn't use a
I like this.
regular banana.
No,
That's why you're supposed to wait till they get all icky to make your banana bread.
I had a
okay.
bunch in my
Oh,
freezer that I was
this
saving
is-
for banana bread, but
This is
maybe
good
I'll
to know.
Let's see.
thaw it out.
They're easy to
and
work
put it in
with when
my
they're
cookies.
frozen.
Oh,
We save
yeah.
old ones and.
Yeah,
in
the
the
Yeah.
freezer.
peels come off easy.
You
Yeah.
cut them and put them in there and you're not
Okay.
dripping
Yeah.
through your fingers, so.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but I love banana bread, but I don't like making it. I don't like frozen banana peels myself, so, I'm good with right out of the store. We went over to Lowe's and we got these 30 pounds of bananas, and it's not the first time I've done this. I go to Lowe's grocery stores all over Texas, getting bananas, and they're all looking at me like, what's he doing all them bananas? What can you make from bananas? Like rum or something? There's some kind of.
Yeah, I think you can.
Is it rum? Yeah, so they always think I'm trying to make something.
sure, Donnie, you're feeding the bees,
Yeah,
yeah.
but,
So how many do you put on?
I just typically just put one unless I have several. We did put 2 on some hives.
There's 3 on some.
We put 3 on some, and then went back a week later and they were all gone.
So can you put buy regular bananas and then put them in your house until they rotten down? Is that what you're talking?
Yeah,
I
I
like
would-
that. I've never heard this.
You know, we buy a bunch of bananas,
Yeah.
and we'll eat, there's 3 of us.
Yeah.
We'll
Right.
eat 3, and the rest will go, they either end up in the freezer for banana bread, or
Oh,
they go to the
yeah.
bees. Yeah.
So when you put them in the
Yes.
freezer, do you put them in a baggie?
I-
Just set them in there?
Yeah, do you?
I don't put mine in the-
I put them in a baggie.
Do you?
Yeah, I'll peel them and put them in a bag.
Oh, you put it,
I
you
peel
peel
mine
it?
first
I'll
too.
peel
You'll
mine
peel
and put them in a
it.
bag, yes.
Yeah, I would, no, I wouldn't throw
I
them in
make
there, so
smoothies.
peel. Maybe that's the solution for me is peel them and put them in a bag and put them in the freezer, then I won't be grossed out by the
There's
skins.
no ick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's, yeah,
Yeah.
take away the ick factor. So, and then the other thing that I like to use is this fondant, whether it be this. So my personal favorite is this Hive Alive fondant because it has different enzymes and probiotics and stuff in it, and the bees seem to do very well off this Hive Alive, supplement, but it is expensive. So I bought like 4 boxes of these, 15 to a box, and it was like $500. And we put either a full patty or a half a patty with 2 or 3 bananas on. And I'm telling you, they were hungry. They ate those in less than a week. Now, the reason why I'm using the fondant in the honey period is because they're not gonna take that fondant and put it in the honey cell. They're basically taking it, eating it, and feeding it to the babies. So that way it's not getting near my honey at all.
How do you know that?
Well, because they would have to mix so much water with that. It is so concentrated.
Okay,
So it's like a 2-pound patty.
okay.
It is so concentrated that they can't just pick it up and move it. They would have to mix
Okay.
water with it, break it down, and then they're feeding it to their babies, so.
Okay,
And another thing, I'm not trying to give them a whole lot.
right.
So the other option I thought of that would not work in a honey time is candy board. Y'all know what a candy board is, made out of sugar and water. If you were desperate, if you need to go on vacation, you wasn't gonna be able to mess with the bees, and there was a situation like this, where they're not getting out and getting any nectar, maybe that'd be something that you'd wanna consider, if you had that situation, but that is definitely gonna be mixed with water and probably taken and putting into cells. So, because it's gonna be a less concentrated, substance. So, on the, feeder here, what they've taken, has anybody done this, taken a jar, poked holes in the top, put syrup in it, and put it on the top frames?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this works good, it's just that the space, if you continue to do that, then eventually they're gonna start putting comb everywhere. So this whole area could end up filled up with comb, so that's the only issue there. I use a frame feeder that fits inside the hive that takes up the same amount of space as the frame, and that's what I use for feeding. But I like the mason jar either on top of the inner cover or in the hive a lot better than I like it on the outside of the hive. It's just too easy for bees to walk 2 or 3 inches and steal, and then you've got a robbing incident going on at the front of your hive. What's that feeder called?
Round feeder? I use a round feeder that goes on the top.
No, the feeder that goes in the entrance.
Oh, that entrance feeder.
Boardman, yeah,
Boardman.
yeah, I wouldn't, if I was concerned about them having water, I'd put water in it, but I wouldn't put sugar syrup in a Boardman feeder, it's just too much. This, go back, baby, can you go back? There was a link on the bottom, if y'all are interested in that link about the, Hive Alive fondant. It's about a 5-minute video, it's nothing real special, but it'll take you to, I don't know whether it's better to order from their website. I ordered from Amazon because it was a little cheaper than ordering from Man Lake, and of course it was
Order from Amazon.
free
If you
shipping.
order from Man Lake, I'm finding that it'll take 2 to 4 weeks before they even ship.
That was my thing, is that's why I went with Amazon, because I'm gonna get it the next day. And I needed it the next day, I didn't need it 2 weeks, because I'm hoping I ain't gonna need it 2 weeks, but.
Cross your fingers.
Yes,
I know, we'll
yes.
see.
Dan, I hate to interrupt, you mentioned water a second ago.
Yes, sir.
In most feeders. How close does water need to be for them to access it?
I'd say 300 yards. So they need to get out and have a cleansing fly, go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, come back. That's not too far. Some people want it right there. But the bees are weird, they like stinky water. And so if they've got stinky water from somewhere away from what you have put for them, they're gonna go to it, disregard your water. But
And I have the hardest time because I always want to clean it out. I'm going, ew, I just
Yeah.
feeling it.
they love it. I don't know why, but they love it.
I know,
It's just
all
marked for them, I
mossy.
guess.
They love the horse's water.
Yeah, that ours get in the tank with the cows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Gonna eat
follow
that
my
later,
dog
but
around.
alright.
They crawled on
The
your dog.
bees follow my dogs
follow
around,
the dog.
they pee on the tree, and
Oh,
the
really?
bees go in there and they,
Really? I wonder if they're wanting something urea or something, because we've seen bees go after, cowlicks, you know?
Yes.
And, isn't urea in cattle feed, or is that something that cows can't
I don't
have?
think so.
I haven't had cows in a long time, so I don't know. But I
There's
know
a
they
lot
go
of
after those
different-
licks.
Yeah, the different enzymes and, what is it called? Vitamins, minerals, all that on that stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of
They get
vitamins.
in there.
I
I
had
keep
some,
thinking that the dogs must be almost diabetic.
yeah.
Sugar.
Sugar.
Right there.
Could be, that's it. I mean, you'd have to be very hard up.
Fortunately, the vets don't do urine tests.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be another $300.
Yeah,
Oh, boy,
easy.
I bet there would be a lot of diabetic dogs.
There are, my brother has one, he gets her shots once a day.
Really?
Little bitty poodly thing,
Yeah.
it's like the Walking Dead, but he keeps her alive. I'm not kidding,
What we do, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do we
CPR
got
was
next?
performed on that dog, and she came back, and
So, how much do you feed? So, during this time, we're talking about today, all this rain going on, it's just an ample amount to get you to the next nectar flow. July, like we was talking about, the horse mint shouldn't even be here, and it's probably gonna be so damaged by the rain, you're not gonna be able to depend on it. Hopefully, the mesquite will do like your tree is doing, having new blooms come.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, because it's as, I have bees in Strawn that they got a lot of rain on the mesquites, and they are terrible. But I got bees over in Breckenridge that, they each had a super of honey on, and, it was uncapped, so I'm looking at maybe next week. Until I looked at the forecast and there's more rain, so I don't know, but those bees are on sunflower, so we got that buffer there, you know, so if you know that there's something that is faithful, like sunflowers, native sunflowers, then you don't have to be as concerned about it, but I would definitely at least put some bananas on them if I was concerned, to give them something like that. I don't recommend pollen patties, because you talked about hive beetles a while ago.
Yeah.
Hive beetles love pollen patties. You will raise a great crop of hive beetles on pollen patties. They love them, and they have a lot of babies, and so, it's not something that I recommend. That's the reason why I like that fondant. There's no protein in it. The hive beetles are going after that protein, and the wax moths do too. So in August, I don't know what to expect. Every time we get a lot of rain like this, and the horse mint has come and gone, I don't know what in the world to expect for August. I'm hoping to cut that vitex tree back, and hopefully it'll bloom again in August. But so if you're in that predicament, then you have to make a decision, you know, more bananas or fondant or whatever you're gonna do, because then you're getting into September, October, and you're thinking about packing the honey on the hive to make it through winter. So it has been a real dilemma for all of us this year that have experienced no nectar in the hive. Are the flowers the kind that the bees can get nectar from? So, of course, you know, snow on the prairie, when it comes, it's a terrible nectar for us, but it does the bees just great. So the broomweed, you hate that, but it's native, and it comes back every year.
it's so faithful, it's so faithful,
It is so faithful,
I
and
just love it.
and you know, so there'll be that. So that's one good thing. You look at the broomweed now that's not blooming. So I don't have any that's blooming.
I don't either.
I do,
But it is green and healthy, and we have,
Tall.
past couple of years, we've made some really good broomweed crops. And it's not the greatest honey, but it's better than that snow on the prairie stuff. So, you know,
think it'll bloom, snow on the prairie,
oh yeah, I'm sure it will.
cause we'll probably be out of the rain by then.
Yeah, and it's being a range plant, I mean, it's gonna be like the broomweed. I don't think I've ever seen a time when that didn't bloom.
What, the.
Snow on the prairie.
Or the room.
Well, yeah, that too, but,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes the broomweed, I don't really see the bees get on it until like October. And then,
I feel like that's like their last,
yeah,
it's like, that's all there is.
Yeah.
But they have been in the trees. They've been all over the trees.
oh,
And
I
think-
bet so the pecans, if you have pecans that are, loaded with aphids, the aphids will be chewing on the leaves and then there'll be sap come out, the bees will take it and make a honey out of it, they call honeydew. And it'll be real dark. I've heard people in England love that kind of honey. Vegetarians, that's one of the reasons why they don't like honey is because it's made from a bug. And this particular honey is bug and bug. A bug salivating and a bug getting the honey and making it, you know, so they're really kind of upset about that. So the nectar flow, of course, you know, when you can pull back on the feed, when you see that Y capping like that box of honey we saw previous. Whenever I open a box and I see that, I'm excited. Over in Breckenridge the other day when we pulled, the good thing about the tops is they'll be locked on. And whenever I start to pull one and I gotta have my hive tool and pop that top off, I'm already excited because I know what's on the other side of that. I know that they've locked in that comb to the lid and it's gonna be good. So that was the only good news we got out of Breckenridge the other day at that particular place that has the 300 acres of sunflowers. Now they do have mesquites, but it's raining on them too. So don't know if we'll get anything about that. So you might also see the bees fanning to evaporate the excess moisture from the nectar and hear the sound of the hives or the bees doing that fanning and bringing in that nectar. Of course, when I got bees out at Greenwood and I went out there at sunrise. I used to never check my bees at sunrise because, but now I'm older and fatter and it's just too hot to go at 10. So get out there at sunrise, get it done real quick and get out of there. And it's interesting to see that at 6:30 in the morning, if you don't have bees moving, they're probably not gonna move. But the ones that are out working, they've got something to go work. So went to Greenwood and saw bees actually coming out of hives better than they've been doing all year. And I'm like, oh, praise God, they got something to work. There's a little yellow thistle, yellow blossom thistle, that's coming up out there. And so they're getting something off of that, I think. But that's another very bitter honey as well. But at this point, I'm just thankful to have some kind of nectar feeding the bees because otherwise I'll just be losing them. But then we went to Breckenridge, 6:30 in the morning the other day, and nobody's coming out of the hive, and I'm like, oh crap, you know, and that's all the mesquite down there had been washed out. But then we went to 4 miles over, and this other property, you know, the bees were out working, and it was probably 7:30 by then, and that was the one that had the lockdown tops that was worth getting excited about. Last year, the sunflower crop did well, but the 3-4 years previous to that, we had not been back to Breckenridge because it's been that long since they had got enough rain to do anything. So that's kind of what I have to do every year is find out the different locations, how the water has been, you know, how the rain has been, how the winter has been on it, to know whether things are blooming. They have a plant out there called algerita that blooms in March, and if it doesn't bloom, it's probably not gonna be a year worth going out there. Now, I have had bees out there in March when the algerita bloom, and it gives a very thick, yellow, syrupy type of honey. It's very good, but just not very much. But they take that algerita berries and make, what do you call, cobblers out of them. It's kind of like dewberry cobbler, but these are just little berries. Flowers, you know, so if you see increased activity and there's no flowers, they're probably gathering water, or they found a cowlick. So that's what I was gonna tell you a while ago. I had bees in San Antonio, and ranch hand called me and said, hey, I put molasses out, dried molasses, and the bees are going nuts over it. I said, was anybody getting hurt or the cows getting stung? He said, no, it's not a big deal. And I said, okay. He said, I just wanted to tell you. And I said, yeah, they're starving. So I went down there a week later and just went to put bananas on, because I didn't know, we hoped for the native flow to come and march down there. Didn't know whether we was gonna do it or not. We finally did make a barrel of mesquite down there, but it wasn't just a great flow this year down there. And that increased activity, it can be mistaken for water gathering. So if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's 100 degrees, and you got bees flying out, they're trying to keep that brood in there to 94.9. If it gets too high, then of course that brood's gonna die. Is that it, Hank? Okay. Is there any questions? Covered it all?
Well, just, I never heard this, I didn't think about it, but you said that if the bees don't come out of the hive, it's most likely there's no nectar, so they're just stay put and play cards.
Conserving energy.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, the reason I bring this up, because I've noticed that in some of my hives right now.
Yeah.
And other hives, they're just going back and forth, and then
Right.
some, I'm going, are they still alive? And you tap on there and they're buzzing, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I've learned a lot, thanks.
Yeah, it's funny how some bees will, it could be different breeds, different genetics,
Okay.
that will find substances that are good for them and go out and work those, where the other bees, maybe they say, it's too expensive, it's too expensive to go out and get. We're gonna, and maybe, so the premature swarming that they were talking about, when you have a mite infestation and it kills off your older bees, then your younger bees will go into their different work categories faster. So that's premature,
okay.
That's premature aging. I can't remember the technical term for it, but they age out of what they're supposed to be doing earlier and go do that job. And then of course,
It's a problem.
because of the infestation.
Yeah.
Of the mites, rural mites.
And, I've seen a lot of people post pictures of the bees on the outside of their hives
Mine have been doing that a little.
and asking if they're about to swarm.
I think it's just humid, that's what I think
they're trying to
it's,
cool it
it's
down
just
to
hot.
94.5.
that's what I feel.
Yeah.
And that's what they do, they get on the outside to get out of there, to get the air out, and that, cause I've been watching those posts and they keep posting.
But
them
what
because
time of day are they seeing that too, is it in the heat of the day, or is it?
Well, they're not posting the times.
That matters, I
so,
think,
but,
Oh, yeah.
they're just, and when they come in and they're all in there, it just all heats up, so then they all have
Oh,
to
yeah.
come out, so.
Yeah, have y'all used that, what is that, Mighty Mite thermal unit? Have y'all heard
No,
about
but
that?
I've
And so
heard of it.
you slide that in your hive and you heat it up to 109 degrees to kill the varroa mites in there. And so,
It doesn't work though, does it?
I use it, I have one and use it, the club has one,
Oh,
and,
We have one.
it's just that you need, it's nice to be near an extension cord or an outlet
An
to
outlet.
use it. I have done it with a generator, but it's, takes all day long. And the bees will fight you. They will not fight you aggressively, they will fight the temperature. So you needed to get to 109 to kill the varroa mites under the cappings. But the bees will fan and try to fight against that to make it cooler inside to keep their brood from getting overheated.
So where do you put this thing in your box?
On the bottom board, you just slide it in on the bottom board.
Oh, okay.
It fits right in there.
Okay.
And then,
How long do you leave it in there?
well, that's the thing. If the bees win the heat fight, then you're timed out. That could take 45 minutes. And then, so it's basically an hour and a half to 2 hour treatment. So, if the unit times out, it doesn't reach the heat that it needs to, then you're having to do it over again.
I got you.
Yeah. So some people
Thank you.
tape up the joints and everything.
Have they started making those again?
I don't think so. So back when COVID came, they couldn't get the electronic parts that they needed to make this thing. There's been different variations come out, but every now and then you'll see somebody have one for sale. I think Felicia Mangle has the group's tent frame.
Yeah.
mighty might. So if you're a member of the group, you can request that, and use it as a natural treatment instead of a, chemical treatment.
Okay.
And she
Yeah.
started doing hers where she took like an empty box and then she'd mark the frames, but she'd take the brood out
Right,
and put them all in one frame and do the one frame and then put them back in, and then if the brood has died, the bees will just clean it out.
Yeah.
And it kind of breaks the,
Well, it breaks
brood
the-
cycle.
The varroa mites brood cycle.
Yeah, it breaks their brood cycle and it brings down your population of your.
Well, I saw that thing in Australia where you put your frames in and they stack them in and leave them there for like an hour, and that does the same thing. So
Yeah,
I'm hearing
yeah.
this,
See that.
Could be that.
and I'm going, I like your method, I'm gonna talk to you later.
But I tried to order one several years ago, not several, but a few years back, and they're not making them.
But the club still has one.
Yeah,
So-
Club has one, Felicia has it, and, it's a 10 frame though.
And it's,
Oh, so all I have is 8 frames.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, she has an 8 frame, you might talk to her,
Yeah.
see if she'll.
See if she probably hers.
But the thing on them is if it breaks, I don't know if there's gonna be any fixing or
Replace.
replacing.
Yeah, that's right.
It's kinda crazy, that we can't figure out how to do a chip. So, I don't know, but the way I do it is I wait, you gotta have 109 degrees to achieve what you wanna do. So I wait till it's 99, 100 degrees out there, and then I slap it in, and we're good to go. But if you try to do it at like a 89,
That makes sense.
you just.
I think
shoot yourself
Felicia
in the
tries to do
foot.
hers in April.
And a lot of people are going, well, if it's 110 outside, then it should kill the mites, it's no big deal.
No,
Leave it alone, but the bees are in there cooling
Cooling
it
it
off,
down.
whatever brood they have, they're cooling them down so they'll live. Anything else? Okay, good deal,
Thank you.
thank y'all.
that's
Can
it.
we ask a general question real quick?
You can
Oh,
ask
yeah, this
anything
is-
you want.
We're in Q and A
Okay.
now.
I've never harvested, I'm just a year and a half been doing this. And I wanted to try the crushing method, where you turn and crush it.
Uh-huh.
Has anyone in here done the crush method versus the spin method?
I haven't.
Jason?
Jason?
Yeah, cause I'm still new into this too.
Okay, have you done it yourself, or are you gonna do it?
So I just grabbed